major in portraiture or commercial or scientific and industrial. There's a lot of different majors. And the guy's like, I just don't know which major to select. I don't know which way to go. And Ralph said, it doesn't matter. And the guy's like, what? And Ralph says, it doesn't matter. And he says, what do you mean? He says, when you leave this school, you'll be able to do anything. You'll be able to shoot anything. So it doesn't matter what major you select. You have established yourself as one who has a foundation of this craft, unlike most people in the world. So it doesn't really matter what major you select. You're going to do fine. And I think he was right. And I think that helped. When I overheard this conversation with the student, it helped me think about my craft a little bit differently. If you learn the foundation, I can do a high-tech, complex picture for Sharper Image catalog or a Zales jewelry catalog. I can do that because I understand how to light this face so beautifully. You know, it really, if you think about it, whether, like I mentioned earlier, if you're shooting a car or a model, light is still exactly the same and it behaves the same way. What changes are the tools we use and maybe how we apply that light. But it's the same stuff. You know, it's still our craft, and it's still just stuff that we have to deal with, and we have to understand the qualities and the quantities. If we do that, we're okay. You know, it's not a big secret, and some people try to make it a secret. And I've heard photographers, I'd say, oh, that's a beautiful shot. How'd you do that? Well, I can't give away my secret. Oh, stop it. You know, shut up with that. I had a guy one time tell me, I can't tell you that. That's my secret. I do that, and nobody else can do this. And I went, okay. Well, I was just curious. I said, I can think of 4 ways of doing it, and I just walked off. And he was like, he only knew one way. Anyway, before we, sorry, you know, I do like to thump other photographers when they get a little bit puffed up. I don't have much patience for that. We are so blessed to do what we do for a living. We are not, we don't have to look at suffering people in our world. I don't. I'm not a photojournalist. We get to see people at their best, usually, and opportunities and situations at their best. You don't. Yeah, not Brett. Yeah. But for me, so much of it is just paying close attention to the details, and it is all details, and it is all small stuff, and it is creating habits. It's kind of like how I pack my camera bag. The habit of how I use my meter is as important as the habit of where I place my 90mm macro lens or my 7200 or where the extra batteries are or what. Everything is a habit, and I have to have all these habits because that way when I'm leaving, you know, we were shooting a Hyatt Regency brochure in Hawaii, and as we were leaving, we were looking through all the camera bags and all the light bags, and there was one slot that was empty. And it's like, what goes in that slot? 50mm 1.4. Where is it? And one of the assistants went, on the 4th floor in the ballroom. And he took off, and he came back holding the lens. We wouldn't have known that if we didn't know that everything had a place, and everything was a habit of where we placed everything. So it's real good to get into these kind of habits. So I think we're going to shoot some more. Did our model come on set? Is Bregan here? Great. So Bregan, come on over. We've put this other backdrop up. This is my favorite backdrop. This is a backdrop called Midsummer Night's Dream. And this is one of those White House backdrops that is, I use this far more than I should. And people are tired of seeing all my work on this backdrop. But I just love the colors. I mean, I just love the, this is my 60s hippie look. I mean, it's very out there. But it's a pretty cool backdrop. So I just wanted to separate her hair against those tones. And we put her in a kind of a bluish, kind of a light bright blue kind of a top. But if you think about this, now think about how this looks when we properly expose it. It will look like it truly looks. But think about how that might look and how deep and rich that color might look if it's under by a half stop. Or how it might look as a pastel if it was over by a half stop. So that's part of what we're going to do on our 3rd session after lunch, is we're going to spend lots and lots and lots of time about background control. So for now, I want to spend the time, though, let's talk about her and lighting her up. So just to get us into the rhythm of this, I want to do one more with her on this backdrop, just kind of in the same setup that we have so we can look and compare, and then we're going to make some adjustments of the light quality from that. So let me move this stool out of the way for a second. John, you want to just slide that over to that corner? Let's put you right about here. And again, let's just turn you kind of that way, and I want to put your weight on your left foot. There you go. And let your right foot just point right out here. Just drag it way out there, and now just drag it in towards you. Freeze right there. Now just let your knee roll in a little bit to the inside. There you go. See how that works? Good. Now just bring your head way around here to me. Over and then chin down a little bit. There we go. There we go. Let me just raise this up just a bit. Let's just take a look at that. And again, I'm just going to swivel it just a little bit to keep her at the back edge of that soft box. And I think we'll turn this guy back on. Are we on over here? Let me turn this. I think we can turn that off, John, for this one. Let's just leave the modeling off on that. I'm going to turn this modeling lamp on.
You want power on too, though?
I'm sorry?
You want power on or just the modeling?
No, just turn the power off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just kill it completely on this one. Let's go ahead and get a reading, if you would. See that? I love that about John. I didn't have to go look for the meter. He already had it. He knew what was coming.
11.5.
At 11.5. Great. We'll shoot at 11.5. So that's going to make that background fairly sharp, depending on my focal length. But I'm going to pull in a little bit closer here, and but that's going to give us a pretty decent look at that backdrop. So we're going to go to 11.5. Let me get this guy locked in here. So here we go. 11.5 is really close to F14, which is 11 2/3. 11.6 would be the closest to F, which would equal F14.
Where do you want the background?
So, oh yeah, go ahead and let's read that background. Sorry, got ahead of myself.
5, 6.5.
So let's pop that up. A full stop for sure.
Let me try.
Maybe a stop plus a little bit, plus 2/3.
11.6.
Oh, that's good. 11.6. Leave it right there.
Okay.
Perfect. 11.6, and I'm shooting at 11.6. So what do you think the background's going to look like?
Like itself.
Reality, true brightness. You guys get that? So let me back up and give her some space just to show you the background. And let me get my focus there. Good. Nobody moves. Boy, did I forget to do something here? Because that's pretty hot. What did I do?
You're still at ISO 200 on the camera.
What did I do?
F14, 1/25.
What did I do?
This is set at ISO 200.
Huh, that's pretty odd. Okay, photography 1, Tony 0.
Well, you might be lighting her off the background light too.
Oh, that's totally what it is.
We moved her
Here,
back quite a bit.
Let's move you forward about a half
okay.
step. There you go. Thank you, Britt. Okay. I owe Britt a drink.
That's
fine. Fine. Fine.
7.
Yeah, that would certainly make a difference. Yes. Point to be made. Keep your background light from hitting your models on top of your exposure. There we go. Let's take a look at that. That looks pretty darn good, and the background's looking pretty good. It looks a little under. What did we say that was? I'll open this up.
Let's read this again.
Take a reading of that again.
8 even. 8, so we probably just didn't dump the power when we
Yeah,
changed
that's what
that.
it was. That's what it was. Okay.
So
Great,
let me
great, great.
bring-
Here we go. Nobody moves. And power that down just a little bit.
Yep.
On the background. There you go. Good.
Try that.
Great. There you go. Now everything's zeroed out. So now she looks like she looks, and the background looks like it looks. So now if we can just zoom into the face there, if we're back with our Lightroom, there we go. There we go. So we got this, the catch light's in the right spot. Everything's looking good. Highlights have detail. Shadows have detail. Everything's coming together, and it's all working pretty good. I think I would lower that light just a little bit, just for a variation. Watch what happens as we bring it down. I'm going to bring it down and closer.
Okay.
And then we'll remeter, and then we're going to change this light shaping tool out for you here in just a second. I'm going to bring it in like this close. Now do this for me, kiddo. I want to bring your shoulders a little bit that way, and bring your head way around here like this. A little bit more, and your chin down for me, just a bit. And just push your hair back off your right shoulder. That one. There you go. There you go. And now let me see your eyes right here. Chin down a little bit, and look right here at me. Good. No big smile on this one. Let me just look at your eyes right here. Good, good, good. Right
8
there.
1/3.
8 1/3, which is the same exposure as how much?
9.
Right. Everybody got that? 8 1/3 equals F9. Okay. Great. Your eyes right there. Just like that. Don't move, don't move, don't move. Beautiful. Beauty. Look at this face. Look at this light quality. By simply moving this thing in, look at that. Guys, we're talking about one softbox and one uncontrolled light on the background. Could you sell that? Why could you not sell that? I'm not a genius. Look at all I did is move this light pretty close to her, got a good solid reading, got beautiful highlights. Can we zoom in on this one more time? Sorry. But and roll it up so I can see her lips as well. Just I could. See how soft that highlight is on her bottom lip? Yeah, I know this seems like a silly thing, but if I use a smaller source, that highlight condenses to a smaller highlight, and as it does, that highlight on that bottom lip gets just pure, plain, blown out white. So if you want a soft, frosted highlight on their lips, you got to have a big, soft source. It's real simple. All that all comes together. I know I'm kind of beating it to death, but, you know, look at that face. And when she's not smiling, her eyes get bigger. Sometimes I'll tell my subjects, no big smiles, not because I don't want their smile. I want their eyes to look bigger. And this is another little tip too. I'm not sure what camera I'm on here, but when you're posing someone, if I'm looking at my model, like you're looking at me here, if I'm right here, my eyes look like however they look. But if I lower my head down just 1/4 of an inch, my eyes appear bigger. Just 1/4 of an inch. I don't want to go way down and look up, because then you get what we call canoe lighting, where if my head's down too much and my eyes are up too much, the whites of the eye go all the way underneath the iris, and it looks like a canoe, like a big white canoe. So we don't want that. But by just dropping from normal to 1/4 of an inch down, the eyes will open up on most people and makes their eyes appear bigger. Compare this one with the previous shot and look at the difference in the size of her eyes. If you can zoom in on the one on the left, I wonder if you can do that. Yeah, so see the size of her eye. Okay, now and then look at the new one where she's not smiling. Look how much bigger her eyes appear. Well, I mean, they're zoomed, but still, you get the idea. Wow, is it bigger? Melanie, right? You have a question?
Yeah, I do. So this technique that you use where you just reposition the light to make shadows and highlights softer, is this also a technique you could use for people who have problem skin?
Absolutely.
Lots of
And I'm glad you brought it up.
acne
We talked about
scars.
that last night. Yeah. The issue is this. The issue is the word texture. You know, if I want... This is going to sound really goofy. NASA chose the time of day to land on the moon on July 20, 1969 for one reason, so that the light is at the most acute angle skimming across the surface of the moon. They see the most possible highlights and shadows on the craters of the moon, so that when the limb was going down to land, they could see if it was going to land, if a leg was going to go in a hole or land on a rock. It's the only way. If that was flat lit, they couldn't see it. Does that make sense? Okay, so a face is exactly this. A face is the surface of the moon. You want to flatten that out, then flatten it out and minimize the shadows, minimize the highlights. So all I would do if I've got someone with problem skin, if I've got someone with deep wrinkles or a lot of pock marks and things like that, for me in this position, just turn your head to me, my biggest choice here would be simply to grab that light stand, keep the same distance, and bring it to me about 1 foot. Like that. And I just fixed all of my problems on skin. I just made sure that I filled in the shadows from a deep pock mark. And I just made sure that I increased, because of the distance, the highlight from the top of a wrinkle or something on darker skin just got handled. So flatten that light out a little bit by just bringing it closer to the camera does it gives you a remarkable difference in the look. You know, when you look at these model pictures that I've got hanging on the walls from this fashion shoot in New York, her skin is flawless. Well, she's got flawless skin to start with, but if she had an imperfection in her skin, you don't see it because I was flat lighting those things, with the exception of one of them. And we'll talk about that as we do a full length tomorrow. But I think it's a pretty good look for most people the traditional old style portrait of a Rembrandt style portrait light is one thing. You can't fix bad skin with a Rembrandt-style traditional portrait light. You can if you retouch it, but you can't with light correction. Yeah.
When you have the softbox raised up high, does the angle of it affect anything other than fall off?
It's just fall off.
That's it.
Great point. It's just fall off. Yeah. So, and it's funny that you mentioned that. And I may have said this when I was here last time when I was doing the outdoor location lighting stuff. If I want the light to fall off on the bottom more, There's another trick that I use, and not a lot of people use, but instead of raising the light up here, I'll just tip it.
Tip it up.
So I'll just loosen the head on the stand, and I'll just do the light like this. So now what I've done is I've just made sure that the bottom edge of my source is what's creating my fall off. It's great. And it's just a fun. Let's go ahead and meter this, and let me shoot one of these real quick to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to push this back around a little bit, Melanie. There you go.
Ready? 5, 6.5.
So I'll go to 5, 6.5.
And that's almost F8 in the back.
Okay.
I'm going to drop that down.
Yeah, just
Try
drop it
that.
a little bit. There you go. Good, good, good. Okay, chin down just a tiny bit, and your eyes right at me, right there. Don't move. Good. Let me back up to show. In fact, let me just zoom out a little bit. Well, I need to back up just a step here. I'm going to crop her kind of funky here just because I want you to see the fall off on her top. You can just see how nicely it's starting to fall. Below on the screen, everybody. There you go. So you see how the light's just starting to fall off mid-chest? Yeah, it's just, I'm just vignetting the lower half of the picture. And it's great to in the world of control, and the power of control is full control. And if I'm shooting my bride, I might want that to fall off, but I also might want that full dress to be perfectly illuminated from toe to head. In that case, then I need my 4x6 turned in a vertical position and pretty close to her. So it all depends on what the job calls for.
So, Tony, you just clarified sort of what, how to achieve fall off. Could you kind of give a definition of fall off for Camera and Tina?
Yeah.
And then after that, I would love to hear for Pink Caterpillar and also Tina, what do you mean by flat light?
Okay, so first off, the fall off. The fall off, basically, in this position, and you can see it from this camera, from this position, that light is being goboed off. Gobo is a term that a lot of commercial guys use, a lot of portrait guys don't, but gobo means go between. So anything that you can go between the light and a subject and knock light off, that's a gobo. This could be used as a gobo. This black piece of cardboard could be used as a gobo, and it's a go-between, right? So I can block light off with this. Well, I can also just tip this up and use the bottom of this to keep light from going all the way down here. So that when the light comes out of this, guys, it's coming right here to her, and it can't really go down there. It's being controlled, so the fall off is pretty dramatic, and it's dropping off to a darker value pretty quickly. It's very subjective how much or how little you like that. In fact, let me back up. Let me back up and shoot that again, just a little bit to show you more. I'm going to get this. I'm going to back. I'll do it over here. Sorry, guys, if I'm in your way, camera guys, but I'm just going to back over here. And I'm going to see my softbox in the shot, but you guys get the idea. I'm doing it for a reason. But now, see the fall off when the monitor clears. And what you'll see is, see how dark it is on the bottom half? Well, if I don't tip this up, I don't get that. So here's what's interesting about this.
Could you maybe tip it down and take a shot?
Yeah, we'll do that next. The interesting part about this is I learned to do this shooting on the beaches in San Diego, outdoors with a family at sunset. When I would walk out there with my big old softbox and put it on the stand and tip it down just like this, like everybody else on the beach that I could see from where I was standing. The problem was I'm lighting up the sand. I'm adding light to a light sand already. So on their portrait, there's this big light area in front of them. And I'm like, how can I get rid of that? And one of my friends said, well, just go below the bottom. And I was like, God, I feel like such an idiot. Of course, what an answer. So all of a sudden, I started shooting all my families like this. And what's great is you can hear the whispers of photographers all over the beach going, that Corbell's an idiot. And I'm looking at their pictures going, oh yeah? So, yeah, let me drop this back down. Now let's read it again, John, because this will change the reading on her. And then from the same position, I haven't moved my camera.
Actually,
I'll just
we did
shoot the same thing.
We did move the camera.
We did? Oh, we did
You
move.
moved it when you...
Sorry. Well, I'll move over here.
So
Just
8 even.
8 even. So we're going to go to 8 even and do the same picture. So now you'll see the fall off is completely different. And if we can put them side by side, you'll see the difference. And again, it's about the word control. Her face looks great in both spots because we metered for her face. If you just put your hand up, put your arm up there and block off her top, Her face looks the same. All I did was just took care of the lower half. Yeah.
I have a technical question.
Well, I'm sorry. You come to the wrong place, lady. Sorry.
Okay, John. No, just kidding.
Good one.
We got a lot of jokesters here.
That's a good one.
Okay, if you could review for me on the Seconic and just with the math, you were saying that, I can't remember exactly, you said something that 8.3 was 9. If you could please help me get back up to speed, where that
This
is. And
actually one of
Yeah.
my favorite things. When is 8.5 greater than 9?
That's right. So
I know why 6 is afraid.
what happened?
7.
What happened? 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
That's right.
So what happens is we had a world where everything was in order with film. We had film ISOs that were in third stops. We had ISO 100 film, 125, 160, and 200 films. We had 250, 320, and 400 films, all on 1/3 increments of speed. Okay? And then come along our cameras. Now, in those days, our cameras, we had half-stop click stops in between full and half stops. So we couldn't get those third stops, but you could if you just knew it. You could wink it in there and hold it in place, and it would, you know. Then we came out with the light meters. The digital light meters came out, and they're in 1/10 stop accuracies. So f8 and a third, f8.3 is 1/3 of a stop brighter than f8. f8 and 2/3, which on the meter would be f8.6 or 0.7, is 2/3 above f8. Now we have digital cameras. And the digital cameras came along and they're in third stops. And instead of saying f8.3, they just give it f9.
Yeah.
It always was f9. In the old days of mechanical optics, it was always f9. We just called it f8 and a third because that's what the meter manufacturer taught us to say. And then 1/3 above that is f10. And the next full stop, next third up is a full stop away from 8, which is f11.
Okay.
So there are 3 levels between, well, 2 levels in between each full stop. So it's f8, f8 and a third, f8 and 2/3, f11, which is f8, f9, f10, f11.
Thank you.
Okay? And it is kind of confusing.
And we would love, we got the fall off, we would love to hear about the flat light.
When Da Vinci talked about creating 3-dimensional contrast, that's directional lighting. You cannot have highlights and shadows when you have light that is not directional. So flat lighting can be defined as light that the source of illumination, the primary source of illumination, is as close as possible to your camera. That's flat lighting, so that it does not appear to be directional. That would be my definition of flat light. Flat light is not a bad thing. It's an awful thing if you're trying to create depth. But if you're just trying to get a picture, flat light's not a bad thing. If you photograph 185 world leaders, flat light them. It's the only way you can do it. When you're photographing a flat art copy, flat light it. You know, there's a lot of calls for flat lighting. So let's do the same picture of her and let me flat light her. I'm going to have to back this up so I can get around the source with my camera. In fact, let's just do this. Let's raise this up. I'm going to raise it up and go under it a little bit. Let's tip that down just a little bit. Sorry, everybody. I'm just, you know, it's the mechanics of a
Do you want
studio.
to clamshell it? With the...
No, because I'm
Okay,
saving that.
okay.
We're talking about that in another section. But I do want to check that output on that, if you don't mind reading that for me. And I'll bring this around a little bit closer. There you go. Good.
4.5 right now.
Let's try it again. See if you can get me closer to 8.
5, 6 even. So
No, that's
maybe
okay.
just
I can do that.
do that.
I'll go 5,
Just
6
see
even.
what we are.
So in this case, her face and the shadowing and everything is going to be pretty flat. Here we go. 560.
560.
Okay. Good. And you'll get comfortable with these numbers the more you do this stuff, much like skiing and everything else that we've talked about. So in this case, this light will pop up and appear pretty flat. Look at her garment. Look how flat the tonality is and the texture of her garment. There is no texture. If this was a bride that spent $7,000 on a gown and I shot her like that, shame on me. She wouldn't know the difference, nor would her mom. But every photographer I know worldwide would say, Corbell, where are the beads? Because they just flat lit the beads. And the bead work on a gown needs to have directional light so that there are little small highlights and little small shadows on every bead because it's creating that texture again. So I have to have it. The thing about directional light is directional light gives me information. Flat light doesn't give me information. It gives me a recorded value, but it doesn't give me any real true information of my subject. Does that make sense? Sort of? A little bit of sense? Okay, so here's what I want to try next. I want to do something that's a little bit funky.
Okay.
John, take that, just pop that head off of there, that reflector, and let's put the other softbox that we've got right here in the corner closet.
Yeah.
Let's put the other softbox that matches this one. Let's put them together. And we're going to do a twin lighting thing here with using 2 of these softboxes to resemble one big one. So while he's grabbing that, let me just tell you what I'm trying to accomplish here. I love this light source, and I like it in a vertical position because vertically I can light her from here all the way down when it's not tipped up. I can light her all the way down to here and get good, smooth, even light all the way down. Okay? But with having a secondary one that exactly matches this one, I'm going to place it just a little bit over this way as almost a, it's going to be almost, well, there are 2 different, we're going to do it 2 different ways. I'm going to do it side by side with it just to make this light source bigger. Then I'm going to move it around and do it as an accent light at the same time. One of my friends, one of my early mentors, said that other softbox he would always place back behind the subject on the same side as the main light. And he said, call that my garlic light. It's like, garlic light? What's a garlic light? And he says, well, you know how garlic is. When you have just enough garlic, it's fabulous, but you can overdo it really easy. And with this accent light, it's the same way. If it's done with finesse, it looks fantastic. If it's not done, you can overdo it real easy. So use soft hands on it, you know. That's what we used to teach our students when they were printing in the darkroom, you know. Use soft hands when you burn and dodge in the darkroom. Use soft hands and don't make it too obvious what you've just done. Make it natural, you know. And that's what this is. We're trying to make it look natural. So let's bring that guy. First off, let's put it right next to it. Let's just match them up. We'll go side by side and we'll put the output the same, and we're going to get a good reading, and yeah, all is good. So go ahead and bring it right on over here, and just swing it around this way so it's the same direction. There you go. Now I'll drop this an inch. Okay, good. So now your output, set your output to 1.7, and we'll take a reading of that and see what we get.
Eight even.
8 even. I love me some 8. Let's do this just for fun. John, will you pull that grid out of light number 3 back there?
Yeah,
and just spin it around toward the backdrop. Yep, and set it at low power.
Yep.
Just so I have a little density back there. There you go. It's already set, it looks like, in the right spot.
Yeah, but just turn it on.
There you go. By the way, that toggle switch, the reason it'll also toggle down
Battery.
is to activate the battery. Yep. There's a battery pack available for these Gemini 500s. And with the battery pack, all you do is once you connect it to the battery for charge and for discharge, then you just flip that switch down and that activates the battery. It's a very clever system. Okay, what you got back there?
5, 6.5.
Yeah, perfect.
Catched up
And we're
on
shooting at 8.0.
Yep.
So we're good. That background's gonna look awesome. She looks awesome. I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit. Nobody moves. Look at this face, would you? Do this for me, kiddo. I want you to just turn your face to me just a little bit, right there. Right there. So now, look at this. I'm gonna zoom in now and do one. Let me come in and look at the quality of light on this exposure, you guys. This next one that's about to pop in, look at this. Look at that light quality, and can you just go in on her eyes again, if you don't mind? Now you can see the twin highlights, and if that's bugging you that there's a blank line between them, that's an easy clone. We can fix that, or we can even.
Or another thing is take a strip of gaffer tape,
Yeah.
go this way,
and
then
make it
looks
look like a window. Yeah, one strip of gaffer's tape and you've got a window. And really the only place that would appear is in her eyes, or if she's holding a glass of wine that's dark red. If the wine is dark, you'll see the window in the glass. So the specularity and working with specular highlights is pretty great. But because of the size of the source, look how soft the highlight is between her eyes, right on her forehead. That's all because of the size of the source. That's it. It's all because of the size of the source. Okay? So go ahead and zoom back out of that again. I just want to look at her neck. Yeah, so see how that soft shadow is? right under her neckline where the shadow would be. Look how soft that shadow is, instead of a hard edge shadow under there. And this is what makes me crazy about watching local TV news. Oh my gosh, these poor newscasters have 7 shadows from their chin onto their white shirt because there are 7 little lights lighting their face instead of one big soft source. Or even these Kino flows that we've got in the studio here. These Kino flows these are incredible light sources. I know the video guys must be flipping out that we've got them here. They're really great to work with because they're so forgiving, you know. Cinematographers are loving it. I heard one guy say that for the first time in years that ceilings are going back on sets for TV shows because they had to fly the ceilings off because they couldn't use, they didn't have the light answers. Well, now they do with the Kino flows. So, pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so now let's do this. I want to leave this main light in the same position. Now, John, let's take that accent light and move it back and head straight toward the backdrop. Just keep going like another 2 or 3 feet. More. Keep going. There you go. Now then spin it around this way toward me. Spin, spin, spin. Now, here's the trick on placement. The trick on placement is I want to make sure that highlight from this light source doesn't hit her nose. So whatever I have to do to keep it from hitting her nose is one of my only rules in life. I don't have a lot of rules in my world. Well, I got a few, but one of them is I don't want that accent light touching that nose. Can't touch her nose because it makes your nose look big and it looks awkward and it's a draw and it draws your eye in. So let's move it like another 6 inches or so. Oh, we're almost there. You're almost there. You're there, right there, right there. Now let's measure that.
4.5 on the front one.
Great. Now measure this main light again because we lost.
No, that was the main latest.
Oh, then let me move it a little bit. I'm going to move this light source. Sorry. Let me move this in a little bit closer to her since we lost half of our size. And let's bring our size back up by bringing this in. There we go. Now give me a reading there.
6.2.
Okay. And the background and that edge light?
6.8.
Okay, so that needs to
Drop
come
that
down one
down.
full stop and we'll be
Yeah.
good. You're perfect. Don't move a thing. You're standing perfect. You look great.
It's as low as it goes now, and it's giving me 6.2.
Great. Nobody moves. Nobody gets hurt. Oh, boy. Did you guys feel that one? That felt good. Now watch this soft, soft, soft light in her hair. How gorgeous is that? Yeah, can we zoom in and see her hair a little bit? She looks like she's mad at me, but other than that, you know, we'll soften her up a little bit there.
It's the attitude shot.
So you know, again, what's going on? Can we zoom back just a little bit there? Okay, so let me ask you this question. If we're in Lightroom, can you go to like 1/3 instead of 1:1 on Zoom? Oh, good. Oh, yeah, click on that 1/3. Yeah, 3:1, 3:1. Yeah. Oh, sorry, 1:3, 1:3, 1:3, sorry. Danger. Yeah, there you go. There you go. For me, that's a real comfortable view about a 1:3. But look how nice and soft this is. Look how soft the highlight is on her shoulder. And you see how there's detail in it? I can't let it get any brighter. I'll lose that detail on her shoulder. As it is, it's very, very soft. It's very comfortable to look at. I think it's great. Okay? Let's do a couple of things real quick. Let me grab this stool so we can let her sit for a second, John. Let's let her sit right there. And for this one, I want to leave everything kind of like it is and just try something. Let's have it aimed like that. Go ahead and come around this way and put your feet on that side and have a seat there and lean up on some of your elbows. So instead of having her shoulders turned away this time, I'm just going to let her sit there, and I want you to sit up good and tall and just bring that hand all the way over to there and just kind of lean this way. Yep, and bring your head to me just a bit right there, and let the top of your head just roll over a little bit right in there. So nothing much has changed here. Give me another check on her face real quick. And just
8 even.
turn your head to me just a little bit, little tiny bit. Right there is good. There you go.
Yep.
Okay, 8 even, so we're going to 8 even. You notice how many meter readings we take? Sorry, Russ. That's what we do. We do a lot of meter readings.
It's true.
And look at if you're looking over my shoulder on this camera, you've got to see how dead on this looks. I mean, you know, we can't miss. Do me one thing there, Big John. Let's swivel that background light to the left a little bit further and pop it up one full stop. And that'll just be a little more
To that left?
comfortable. Yep, a little more that way. And up to 2.0. Yep, let me do one more of those. Bregan, you look great. Good, good, good. Chin up just a little. Now let me look at your eyes right at me over here. And now lower your head down just a tiny bit. Right there, don't move, don't move. Good, great. Now we got it. Now let's take a look at our eyes on this last one that just popped as it pops in. Now our background looks a little more background-like. And look at that comfortable expression on her face on this one. I could sell that, guys. You can buy houses and cars, you know, with that kind of a thing. And then if it's too dark on this side, if you think her hair needs a little help, then fix her hair. You know, it's a pretty simple, it's a simple fix. You can actually I don't want to do that yet. I've got to save that because there's a couple of things I want to try not to step ahead too much. Okay, any questions about these twin lights before we move to the next step? You got one?
Yeah, we do actually, Tony. This is from Houghton Photo.
Okay.
Asking about, that was an even ratio between the edges and the key light, and I understand earlier, one stop under.
Yeah.
Is it because of the large soft edge versus the harder light?
Bingo. That's the answer. The answer is, with a bigger source back there, I can get closer and closer and closer to my main light
I
exposure.
believe we are still a
But
stop.
we are down. It is below. It's not equal.
Here, let's see.
Okay.
It's not 1-to-1. It's down
That's
below.
5
Okay.
But you can get closer because of the size of the source.
Yeah, they're stopped different right now.
They are.
Okay,
Okay,
one
so
stop.
they're a stop difference still right
One
now.
stop different,
Yeah.
okay. Which
But
is what you said, you preferred that one stop.
Personally, I prefer 1.5.
Okay.
But if I got a big, softer source, remember that as the source gets bigger, the highlight diminishes. So that helps me with my accents quite a bit. So great catch. But yeah, it's at a -1 right now. But it still looks plenty bright, as you can see in her face and her hair. Still looks like it looks like her hair is brighter than her face, but it's really one stop darker. But because of the relative placement of it, it's almost like can I pull that board out, John? I know
Yeah.
this is going to be really awkward to do this.
Nah, I
Stay
can
right
get
where you
it.
are for just a second. Let me just move this guy forward, and if you could scoot that
Yeah.
around. I just want to show you one thing, and I hate to do this. The guys in the booth are going, "Where is he going? What is he doing now?" Because I just keep moving all over the set. Actually, why don't you jump down for a second? I'll move your chair, and then I'll grab you back up here in just a second. So think about it this way. I really do appreciate this question because this is something that I do talk about a lot. There's our background. Here's my camera. There's my girl. And here's my light source. So let's say I've got my light source right here at that distance. And it measures f8. And if I move that light over here, it still measures f8. And if I move that light here, it still measures f8. And if I move it here, it still measures f8. As long as that light keeps the same distance, it still measures exactly the same. But visually, here's what happens. Here, it looks like f8. Here, it looks like f8. Here, it looks like 8.5. Here, it looks like 11. Here, it looks like 11.5. The more it goes away from my camera, the more efficient the light becomes coming back to the camera. Because, and it's all, again, once again, we're talking about the law of physics. Light here has to go lose a certain amount of energy, make the turn, bam, and go to the lens. Here it goes to the subject, makes the turn, loses some energy, bam, goes to the lens. Here, it doesn't take as much energy to make the turn. It's like skipping a rock on a lake. Here, it even takes less energy to skip across the subject and go to the lens. Here, it's even less, so it appears brighter and brighter and loses less power. Does that make any sense? Dun, dun, dun.
Love it.
Dun,
Angle
dun,
of incidence.
dun, dun. It's why when you're driving down a blacktop lane at the end of the day and it's sunset and you're going like this because the sun is bouncing off of that road and it's knocking the black off your teeth, and you glance in your rearview mirror and everything is perfectly exposed behind you. Why does that light appear so bright? Because it's doing that. And what you see in your rearview mirror is doing that. Okay, thanks, John.
So we have a question from Pixel SE who says, are you using the main light softbox as a gobo? How are you not getting any lens flare from the rim light softbox?
That's a great question. Well, from standing right here, that rim light is goboed by the main light. In an ideal world, and in my studio with all of my stuff with me, I would have a grid spot on that second softbox. And the grid spot would absolutely guarantee I wouldn't get flare. But there is a danger of flare. So it's a real good pickup, good catch. Yeah, that could be a problem.